The weight you have been carrying was never invisible to God. Every silent tear, every lonely night, every disappointment that forced you to keep moving when you felt exhausted has been seen, remembered, and woven into a story that is still unfolding. There were seasons when it seemed as though everyone else was moving ahead, while you remained standing in the same place, praying the same prayers, hoping for the same breakthrough, and wondering whether your faith was making any difference at all. There were moments when you smiled in front of others, while carrying burdens that few people ever noticed. You learned how to remain kind when life gave you reasons to become bitter. You learned how to stay faithful when circumstances offered little encouragement. You learned how to keep walking even when the path ahead seemed unclear. Those lessons did not come easily. They were forged through experiences that stretched your patience, challenged your confidence, and tested your endurance. Yet through it all, something remarkable was happening beneath the surface. While you were focused on surviving the season, God was shaping your character. While you were wondering why certain doors remained closed, God was protecting you from places that were not meant for your future. While you were questioning the delay, God was building a foundation strong enough to support what is coming next. There is a tendency to believe that blessings arrive only in moments of sudden celebration, but many of the greatest blessings begin long before they become visible. They begin in hidden places. They begin during quiet seasons. They begin while a person is learning perseverance, humility, wisdom, and resilience. You may not have realized it at the time, but every challenge you faced was developing strengths that could not have been acquired any other way. Every disappointment taught you something valuable about trust. Every setback revealed a deeper level of courage. Every difficult season uncovered reserves of strength you did not know existed within you. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Many people would have given up under the weight of what you carried. Many would have allowed discouragement to define their future. Many would have surrendered their hope. Yet somehow, even when you felt weak, there remained a quiet determination inside you that refused to disappear. That determination was not an accident. It was evidence that God was sustaining you, even during moments when you felt alone. There were battles you fought that nobody applauded. There were victories you achieved that nobody celebrated. Some of your greatest triumphs happened in silence when nobody was watching. The world often celebrates visible success, but God sees the private victories that shape a person's soul. He sees the mornings when you chose faith instead of despair. He sees the moments when you extended kindness despite being wounded yourself. He sees the times when you continued believing even when circumstances seemed to offer no reason for optimism. Those moments matter. They always mattered. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. You are worth far more than the opinions of people who failed to understand your journey. You are worth far more than the rejection that attempted to convince you otherwise. Sometimes people walk away because they cannot recognize what God is building inside you. Sometimes opportunities disappear because they are connected to a path that would have taken you away from your purpose. Sometimes delays occur because preparation is still taking place behind the scenes. None of these experiences diminish your value. In fact, many of them become part of the very process that prepares you for something greater. There is a reason gold is refined through fire. There is a reason strong roots develop beneath the surface before a tree rises into the sky. There is a reason some of life's most meaningful transformations happen where nobody else can see them. Growth often occurs in hidden places. Healing often begins in silence. Preparation often happens during seasons that feel ordinary. You may have spent years wondering whether your sacrifices meant anything. You may have questioned whether your patience was accomplishing anything at all. You may have wondered if your kindness was being wasted on people who never appreciated it. Yet not every act of faithfulness produces immediate results. Some seeds take time before they reveal their harvest. Some prayers continue working long after they are spoken. Some blessings are developing even when there is no visible evidence. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. They were teaching you how to remain steady during uncertainty. They were teaching you how to find strength beyond your own understanding. They were teaching you how to recognize your worth without depending on the approval of others. That kind of growth is priceless. It cannot be purchased. It cannot be rushed. It can only be developed through experience. The beautiful truth is that God has not forgotten you, not for a single moment. Even when the road felt lonely, He was present. Even when your heart felt weary, He was working. Even when answers seemed delayed, His plans continued moving forward. It is easy to underestimate the significance of what is happening beneath the surface simply because it cannot yet be seen. Yet some of the most important work in your life has occurred during these hidden seasons. You became stronger. You became wiser. You became more compassionate. You developed a depth of character that many people spend a lifetime searching for. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. Your endurance required sacrifices that few people ever witnessed. Your faith survived storms that could have easily broken your spirit. Those experiences were not meaningless. They were preparing you for responsibilities, opportunities, relationships, and blessings that require exactly the kind of strength you have developed. There is something deeply encouraging about recognizing that your story is still being written. The difficult chapters were real, but they are not the entire story. The painful seasons were significant, but they do not define your destiny. The disappointments were painful, but they do not determine your future. God specializes in bringing beauty from situations that once seemed hopeless. He specializes in creating purpose from pain. He specializes in opening doors that nobody else could open. Your journey has value even if it unfolded differently than you expected. In fact, some of the unexpected turns may eventually become the very reasons you are able to help others, encourage others, and appreciate blessings in ways you never could have otherwise. There is strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. There is resilience within you that survived every storm. There is worth within you that has never depended on recognition, applause, or validation from the world around you. And there is a future ahead of you that remains untouched by the disappointments of the past. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. He understood the prayers that were too painful to explain. He remained present during the moments when you felt forgotten. Because of that, you can continue moving forward with confidence, knowing that your patience has not been wasted, your faith has not been ignored, and your journey has not been meaningless. Something greater than your expectations is being prepared. Not because you earned perfection, but because God has been faithfully working through every season of your life, including the ones that made the least sense at the time. If this message brought peace to your heart and reminded you that your journey still holds purpose, subscribe to the channel and continue walking alongside a community that values faith, encouragement, healing, and hope. Sometimes the right reminder arrives exactly when it is needed, and there may be more encouragement ahead for the road you are still traveling. There were days when you felt as though your life was moving in slow motion, while everyone around you seemed to be advancing with confidence and certainty. You watched opportunities appear for other people. You saw doors open in their lives. You witnessed celebrations, milestones, and breakthroughs while quietly carrying your own unanswered prayers. During those moments, it was easy to wonder whether something had gone wrong, whether you had somehow been overlooked, whether your waiting had become permanent. Yet the truth is that some of the most significant blessings require a level of preparation that cannot be rushed. What feels like delay is often development. What feels like silence is often preparation. What feels like being forgotten is often evidence that a deeper work is taking place beyond your current understanding. The chosen often experience seasons that seem longer than expected because God is not only preparing the blessing, He is preparing the person who will receive it. There is a difference between receiving something and being ready to carry it well. There is a difference between obtaining a gift and having the wisdom to protect it, nurture it, and appreciate it. Looking back, there are probably things you once desperately wanted that would have harmed you had they arrived too soon. There are relationships that seemed perfect until time revealed hidden problems. There are opportunities that appeared attractive until distance provided greater clarity. There are disappointments that felt devastating until you eventually recognized them as protection. At the time, none of that felt comforting. Pain rarely feels meaningful when it is happening. Waiting rarely feels productive when answers seem distant, but perspective has a way of revealing truths that are invisible during difficult seasons. One day you may look back and realize that many of the things you thought were obstacles were actually forms of guidance. You may discover that closed doors redirected you toward places where you truly belonged. You may recognize that certain losses created room for better things to enter your life. You may understand that some of your greatest frustrations prevented much greater heartache. God sees the entire path, while we often see only the next few steps. That difference in perspective changes everything. There is a reason your spirit continued moving forward, even when your emotions wanted to quit. There is a reason hope survived despite repeated disappointments. There is a reason your heart continued searching for meaning, even during seasons of uncertainty. Deep within you, there has always been a quiet awareness that your story is not finished. Even when discouragement whispered that nothing would change, another voice reminded you to keep going. Even when exhaustion tempted you to surrender your dreams, something within you refused to let them die completely. That inner persistence is significant. It reveals that your purpose is stronger than your circumstances. It reveals that your faith possesses roots deeper than temporary setbacks. It reveals that God's work in your life extends beyond what is currently visible. The challenges you faced have given you gifts that cannot be measured by worldly standards. You learned compassion through suffering. You learned patience through waiting. You learned resilience through hardship. You learned gratitude through seasons of scarcity. You learned wisdom through mistakes and disappointments. These are treasures that many people overlook, yet they become the very qualities that allow a person to flourish when blessings finally arrive. A blessing without wisdom can be wasted. A blessing without maturity can be mishandled. A blessing without gratitude can quickly lose its meaning. God understands this. That is why preparation matters. That is why growth matters. That is why your difficult seasons have not been pointless. Every lesson learned during hardship becomes part of the foundation that supports future blessings. Every act of perseverance becomes evidence that you are stronger than you once believed. Every moment of faithfulness becomes a reminder that your character was being shaped for something meaningful. Perhaps one of the hardest experiences has been carrying burdens that nobody else fully understood. You may have smiled while your heart was hurting. You may have continued helping others while struggling yourself. You may have offered encouragement to people around you while desperately needing encouragement of your own. Those experiences can create a deep sense of loneliness because they often go unnoticed. Yet God notices them. He sees the sacrifices hidden behind your kindness. He sees the courage hidden behind your composure. He sees the strength hidden behind your silence. Not every battle you fought was in vain. Not every tear was wasted. Not every disappointment was meaningless. Some of the most powerful transformations in your life have emerged from places of pain. There were moments when you thought you were breaking, but you were actually becoming stronger. There were seasons when you thought you were losing everything, but you were actually discovering what truly mattered. There were times when you believed you were being diminished, but you were being refined. Refinement rarely feels pleasant. It often feels confusing. It often feels unfair. Yet refinement removes what is unnecessary so that what is valuable can shine more clearly. The remarkable thing about God's timing is that it often exceeds human expectations. We tend to imagine blessings in very specific ways. We create mental pictures of how our future should unfold. We decide when certain answers should arrive. We establish timelines that feel reasonable to us. Then life unfolds differently. Sometimes slower, sometimes through unexpected paths, sometimes through circumstances we never would have chosen. Yet many people eventually discover that what God provided was better than what they originally imagined. Not because it was larger in a material sense, but because it was more aligned with who they had become. The blessing fit the person they had grown into during the waiting. The opportunity arrived when they possessed the maturity to handle it well. The relationship appeared when they were emotionally ready to receive it. The purpose became clear after enough preparation had occurred to sustain it. That possibility exists for you as well. The future may not look exactly like your original expectations, but that does not mean it will be worse. In many cases, it may be richer, deeper, healthier, and more meaningful than anything you previously envisioned. God often works beyond the limits of our imagination. He sees possibilities we cannot yet recognize. He understands connections we cannot yet perceive. He knows how present challenges can contribute to future victories. Because of that, there is reason to remain hopeful even when answers have not fully arrived. Hope is not denial. Hope is not pretending difficulties do not exist. Hope is the decision to believe that difficult seasons are not the final chapter. Hope is trusting that your value remains intact regardless of current circumstances. Hope is recognizing that God's plans continue moving forward even when you cannot see them clearly. The chosen frequently walk through seasons that require extraordinary patience, yet those same seasons often produce extraordinary depth. They produce people who understand compassion. They produce people who appreciate blessings rather than taking them for granted. They produce people whose faith has been tested and strengthened. They produce people whose character has become a source of encouragement for others. Perhaps you have underestimated how much growth has already occurred within you. Perhaps you have focused so heavily on what has not happened that you overlooked how much you have changed. You are not the same person you were years ago. The challenges refined you. The waiting strengthened you. The setbacks taught you. The healing transformed you. Even if your circumstances have not fully changed, you have changed. And sometimes that transformation becomes the doorway through which future blessings enter. God has not abandoned your story. He has not lost track of your prayers. He has not forgotten the dreams you carry within your heart. The waiting season may have felt endless, but it has not been empty. It has been filled with preparation, growth, refinement, and unseen progress. Something meaningful has been taking shape all along. If these words strengthened your faith and reminded you that your waiting still has purpose, subscribe to the channel so you can continue receiving encouragement for the journey ahead. Together, we can keep reflecting on healing, resilience, purpose, and the quiet ways God continues working even when the path is not yet clear. One of the greatest challenges of a long season of waiting is learning how to keep your heart open when disappointment has visited repeatedly. After enough setbacks, it becomes tempting to lower expectations, protect yourself from hope, and convince yourself that nothing remarkable is ahead. It can feel safer to expect less than to risk being disappointed again. Yet deep within your spirit, there remains a quiet longing that refuses to disappear completely. There remains a belief that your life holds meaning. There remains a desire to see beauty emerge from the struggles you endured. There remains a hope that the years of perseverance, faith, patience, and endurance were leading somewhere significant. That hope matters because it reminds you that your story is still alive. The difficult seasons may have shaped you, but they do not own you. The painful experiences may have influenced your journey, but they do not define your destiny. God never intended for your wounds to become your identity. He never intended for your disappointments to become the final conclusion of your story. Instead, He has been working quietly through every chapter, creating growth where you saw only struggle, creating wisdom where you saw only confusion, and creating strength where you saw only exhaustion. Many people look at their lives and focus primarily on what they have lost. They remember opportunities that disappeared, relationships that ended, dreams that changed, and seasons that felt unfair. Those experiences are real, and the pain attached to them should never be dismissed. Yet there is another perspective worth considering. Alongside everything you lost, there is also everything you gained. You gained resilience that could not have been developed through comfort alone. You gained wisdom that could not have been acquired without experience. You gained compassion that allows you to understand the struggles of others more deeply. You gained courage that continues moving forward even when certainty is unavailable. You gained a deeper understanding of your own strength. These gifts are often overlooked because they do not arrive wrapped in celebration. They emerge quietly through hardship. They develop gradually through perseverance. Yet they become some of the most valuable possessions a person can carry. There were moments when life forced you to discover strengths you never intended to develop. You learned how to survive seasons you never expected to face. You learned how to keep believing when circumstances offered little encouragement. You learned how to carry responsibilities while managing private struggles. You learned how to continue showing kindness even after experiencing disappointment. These accomplishments may not receive recognition from the world, but they matter. They reveal the depth of character that has been formed within you. They reveal a resilience that cannot be manufactured. They reveal a quiet strength that becomes increasingly valuable as life unfolds. The world often celebrates visible victories, yet many of the most important victories occur internally. They happen when a person refuses to become bitter. They happen when someone chooses forgiveness instead of resentment. They happen when faith survives uncertainty. They happen when hope remains alive despite repeated challenges. Those victories deserve to be honored because they reveal profound courage. Perhaps there were times when you felt overlooked because your growth was not obvious to others. Perhaps you watched people receive praise while your own efforts went unnoticed. Perhaps you wondered whether anyone truly understood how hard you were trying. God understood. He saw the private battles. He saw the hidden sacrifices. He saw the tears that never became public. He saw the prayers spoken in solitude. He saw every moment when you continued moving forward despite feeling weary. Nothing escaped his attention. Sometimes the most comforting truth is not that everything will happen immediately, but that none of your struggles have been invisible. Every act of faithfulness has been seen. Every sacrifice has been noticed. Every moment of perseverance has carried significance. There is great peace in knowing that your value does not depend on public recognition. Your worth was never determined by applause. It was never determined by status, popularity, achievements, or the approval of others. Your worth existed before any accomplishment and remains intact regardless of circumstances. That truth becomes especially important during seasons when external validation feels scarce. When people fail to appreciate you, your value remains unchanged. When opportunities are delayed, your value remains unchanged. When life becomes difficult, your value remains unchanged. God's view of you is not altered by temporary circumstances. He sees the person you are becoming. He sees the strength that hardship has produced. He sees the goodness that remains within your heart despite everything you have endured. He sees the potential that continues growing beneath the surface. There may come a day when you finally recognize how much preparation has been taking place during this season. You may discover that what felt like delay was actually protection. You may realize that what seemed like silence was actually development. You may understand that what appeared to be loss created room for something healthier, wiser, and more meaningful. Often the blessing itself is only part of the gift. The person you become while waiting for the blessing is an even greater gift. Because of your journey, you possess empathy for people who feel forgotten. Because of your journey, you understand pain without becoming defined by it. Because of your journey, you know how to encourage others who are struggling. Because of your journey, you have learned that faith can survive even when certainty disappears. These qualities will continue serving you long after any particular breakthrough arrives. They are evidence that your waiting season has produced something beautiful within you. The blessing God is preparing may not arrive exactly as you imagined. It may come through unexpected people, unexpected opportunities, unexpected moments, or unexpected paths. Yet that does not diminish its significance. Sometimes the most meaningful gifts arrive in forms we never anticipated. Sometimes the answer exceeds expectations precisely because it differs from our original assumptions. God is capable of creating possibilities beyond anything we can currently see. That is why hope remains powerful. Hope allows you to continue believing that your future is not limited by your past. Hope reminds you that difficult chapters do not eliminate the possibility of beautiful chapters ahead. Hope reminds you that healing is possible, growth is possible, purpose is possible, and joy is possible. The same God who sustained you through every difficult season is still guiding your journey today. The same God who carried you through nights of uncertainty continues working on your behalf. The same God who gave you strength when you thought you had none remains faithful. Because of that, you do not need to define yourself by old disappointments. You do not need to measure your future by past setbacks. You do not need to believe that your best days are behind you. There is still purpose ahead. There is still growth ahead. There is still healing ahead. There is still beauty ahead. Most importantly, there is still reason to believe that God has something prepared that is greater than your current understanding. Not because life will become perfect, but because God's ability to bring meaning, restoration, and hope has always exceeded human expectations. The story is not over. The waiting has not been wasted. The sacrifices were not meaningless. The tears were not forgotten. The faith you carried through difficult seasons still matters. The kindness you offered still matters. The perseverance you demonstrated still matters. And the future that God continues preparing remains filled with possibilities that have not yet been revealed. If this message encouraged your heart and reminded you that God is still writing beautiful chapters in your story, subscribe to the channel and continue joining a community centered on faith, encouragement, healing, and personal growth. May each message strengthen your hope, deepen your resilience, and remind you that you are never walking this journey alone.